a friend of the narrator was traveling and asked if she had seen the case. She said, it must be happening now. I'll wait a bit to talk about it, to see what comes out." She went to research, and the script came out to nearly 10 pages. There was a lot to tell. The narrator had been commenting to friends that, although Brazil had many crimes, it didn't have as many crazy people as the United States. Compared to the number of serial killers and bizarre, absurd things that happen in the US, and just after she said that, this extremely bizarre case surfaced. The narrator sadly thinks the police might find more victims. She is very shocked and knows this is one of those stories, a case in progress, under investigation, where a lot can change quickly, even after the video is posted. The narrator was recording on October $15 TH. With posting planned for the $16 TH, she asks the audience to be careful when watching, as new updates might emerge. So, without further ado, let's get to today's story. For the analysis, the narrator decided to follow a timeline of the events, which will help analyze each case and understand the statements from the detectives working with the criminal. The timeline begins on January 31st, 2025, at the start of the year. It's important to note that this first case was initially shelved, but reopened after other cases began to emerge. On this day, a man named Marcus Reed, $51, was found lifeless inside his own home, located in Newark, New Jersey. His body was already in an advanced state of decomposition when the police arrived. The person who alerted the police was a woman who had been living with him for a few days, named Diana Miller. Diana reportedly told the police on the call that she tried to reach her neighbor for 3 or 4 days, but he didn't answer. Worried, she called the police to investigate. When the police arrived, Diana was there. Images recorded by officers show Diana looking astonished upon learning of her neighbor's death. But shortly after, she gives a small smile, which was deemed strange. Diana had moved from Baltimore, Maryland, to Newark earlier in January 2025 with her twin sister, Rita. She began living in Marcus's house, supposedly paying him rent. Marcus had no close relatives nearby, so not many people frequented the residence. There were several suspicious elements. Diana was living in the same house. He had been deceased for days in an advanced state of decomposition, suggesting a strange smell. Yet she delayed calling the police. The cause of death was not initially determined, and the case was even archived on May $5 due to lack of evidence. But it was reopened on suspicion of poisoning. It is assumed that Diana administered poison and waited a few days before calling the police to mislead investigations. Her motivation, in this case, was allegedly to gain possession of Marcus's assets or money. The second case occurred in April 2025, and the narrator had to read this section many times to understand the confusion. In the first half of April, Diana filed a police report PR, claiming she had received a possibly poisoned cake at the college where she studied. She claimed the cake smelled strange, and that a note accompanied the treat, written by the wife of a military police officer, MP. Diana had briefly been involved with this MP through a dating app, but he was married and didn't want anything serious. Diana became very irritated. She was obsessed with the idea of having a husband, children, and a family, and sought revenge when a man didn't show the same interest. The narrator notes that Diana had photos in police stations on her social media, perhaps signaling a desire to get involved with someone in law enforcement. The police questioning reveals the strangeness. An officer asks, "But how do you know the cake is poisoned, ma'am?" Diana replies, "Everyone has smelled the cake, and it has a strong odor." Diana began frequenting the police station to follow the cake investigation. However, investigators believe the college cake incident was merely a diversion from another crime she had already committed. To seek revenge on the MP, Diana created a fake profile on a dating app named Kelly instead of Carla, looking for women. She started talking to Brenda Jones, known as BJ instead of Mara. The very next day, BJ went to Diana's house with Rita for coffee. The cake BJ ate was full of poison, likely cleaning products, and she died that night after returning home. Diana orchestrated a terrible plan. She sent several messages from BJ's phone, pretending the victim knew the MP and was afraid of him. Notes were planted in BJ's house with phrases like, "Officer so-and-so is no good." Diana falsely reported to the police that BJ had been threatened and killed by the MP in question. Threatening messages were sent to the officer's wife, using a number registered under BJ's name. However, a technical analysis identified that the chip used had operated on the same devices linked to Diana. Diana's intention with the college cake was to frame the MP's wife, pretending she discovered the affair and was trying to kill Diana in the same month. On April 26th, another death occurred. George Miller, $65, in Wilmington, Delaware. He died after ingesting spicy chili adapted from Feijoada to the American context. That was poisoned, delivered by Diana. The connection? Diana was friends with his daughter, Shelley. Investigations revealed that Shelley hired Diana for $4,000 to kill her own father. Diana traveled from Newark to Wilmington at Shelley's request, carrying the poison to mix into the food. George, who had trouble chewing, usually had his meal blended in a blender. Shelley allegedly blended the chili and then added the poison Diana brought. George became ill and died in a hospital hours later. The family suspected poisoning from the start. After the death, Diana and Shelley argued, blaming each other. Diana also confessed to having poisoned at least 10 dogs in experiments to test the effectiveness of the poison before using it on humans. The narrator expresses shock at this fact. Investigators intercepted coded messages using the fake acronym TCC, Thesis Completion Course, between Diana, Shelley, and Rita, the twin sister, to discuss payments and the debt for the crime. Less than a month later, on May 23rd, the fourth confirmed victim emerged, Karim Zaki, $21, a Tunisian citizen. He died in Newark after ingesting a poisoned milkshake delivered by Diana. Karim and Diana had met on a dating app. The story mirrored the MP's. Diana wanted a relationship, marriage, and a family. But Karim wasn't on the same vibe. To take revenge, Diana decided to kill him. Diana and Rita invented a fake pregnancy to try to make Karim stay with her or extort money. He refused. They went out one day, and on the way to his house, Diana added the poison to the milkshake. The case is even sadder. Diana filmed Karim suffering, pretending to offer aid, and gave the wrong address to investigators, delaying help. Karim died shortly after, and his body was sent back to Tunisia. Due to this, the American authorities, Brazilian, in the original context, could not exhume the body, making forensics difficult. Closing parenthesis. The determining factor for Diana being identified as the mastermind and not a victim was the college cake incident. The police were already suspicious of her constant presence at crime scenes and her excessive interest in the investigation. On July 8th, Diana was arrested in Newark. The investigation into the poisoned cake opened the door to finding evidence of her involvement in the 4 cases. In August 2025, Rita, the twin sister, was also arrested on suspicion of complicity. On September 4th, the district attorney's office, adapted from Ministerio Publico, filed formal charges against Diana for qualified homicides. The Newark and Wilmington police departments are collaborating heavily. Diana's preventative detention was decreed because she traveled between cities and manipulated information, posing a risk to public order. On October 7th, Shelley, George's daughter, was also arrested. Authorities confirmed that samples collected at Diana's house contained poison, Terbufós, an agricultural pesticide, known colloquially as rat poison or chambinho in the original context. Diana used controlled doses to simulate natural deaths. Dateline, adapted from Fantastico, released audio clips of Diana calling the police to report the deaths. including one where she reports a murder and accuses the police officer. Diana, a nursing technician and law student, used her technical knowledge to facilitate the crimes. Authorities noted her pattern, insisting on being present at the death scenes or being the first to call the police, with 4 homicides sharing the same modus operandi, poisoning by ingestion. Police classified Diana as a serial killer with traits of coldness, calculation, and psychopathy. The motivations: Marcus Reed killed him to avoid rent debt and seize the house. Brenda Jones BJ used her as revenge to frame the MP. George Miller, commissioned by Shelley for financial gain. Inheritance: Kareem Zaki, revenge for rejection and seeking financial advantages. Fake pregnancy. Closing parenthesis. The investigation revealed the sadistic and psychopathic profile of Diana Miller, who derived pleasure from killing and displayed coldness. According to Chief Investigator Allison Leet, authorities classify her as a likely serial killer. Diana provided contradictory statements, partially confessing involvement in George's death, claiming she helped a friend, but lying about Marcus, claiming an unconfirmed stab wound. Her history included previous domestic violence complaints for threats and persecution against an ex-partner, even resorting to self-mutilation to frame him and setting fire to his family's shed containing religious objects. Recovered messages show Diana threatening the ex, Threekoff,